All right, so it turns out I'm not able to come back and see you guys today, so we're gonna have to do this on video again. This lesson's gonna take the last 2 days one little step further. So we started off just learning about parallel lines. So parallel lines are two lines that don't intersect, but they're going the same direction. Skew lines don't intersect, but they go different directions, and perpendicular lines form right angles. And then you learned about those four special types of angles. So you learned about corresponding angles, alternate interior, alternate exterior, and same side. Yesterday, you learned that corresponding angles are congruent, alternate interior angles are congruent, alternate exterior angles are congruent, and same side are supplementary. And supplementary just means they add up to 180. Today we're going to learn how we would show lines are parallel. So to show lines are parallel, basically we're going to reverse that. So we talk about the converse of it. So yesterday it was if the lines are parallel, then corresponding angles are congruent. Today is if corresponding angles are congruent, then the lines are parallel. So we talked about converse statements. They just flip the statement over. So that first little sentence, if two lines are cut by a transversal so that corresponding angles are congruent, then the lines are parallel. So if you're looking at your picture and you have corresponding angles that are congruent, so in other words, angles that are in the same position, so these angles are in the lower left-hand side. Since those are congruent, then our lines would have to be parallel. Alternate interior angles, so yesterday was if the lines are parallel, then alternate interior angles are congruent. Today says if alternate interior angles are congruent, then the lines are parallel. So alternate interior angles are inside the lines, but on opposite sides of the transversal. So one is on the right-hand side, one's on the left-hand side. Yesterday was if the lines are parallel, then alternate exterior angles are congruent. So today is if alternate exterior angles are congruent, then the lines are parallel. So again, alternate exterior angles are going to be outside your lines on opposite sides. So we've got one on the left, one on the right, but outside the lines. And then that last one yesterday was if the lines are parallel, same side or supplementary. So today, if same side are supplementary, then the lines are parallel. And we know that supplementary just means that they add up to 180. So if this angle is x and this angle is y, then x plus y has to equal 180 degrees. So there's two other ways to show that lines are parallel, and that's the perpendicular converse and then this last one. So the perpendicular converse just says if two lines are perpendicular to the same line, then they are parallel to each other. So what does that mean? So basically, if I know that these two lines are perpendicular and I know that these two lines are perpendicular, then that means this line and this line would have to be parallel. The last theorem there says if two lines are parallel to the same line, then they are parallel to each other. All right, so basically we're saying if these first two lines are parallel to each other, and then the second two lines are parallel to each other, then the first line, this one, and the last line, this one, would have to be parallel as well. And that should make sense. If the first two lines don't touch and the last two lines don't touch, then they're not going to touch. So there's basically 6 ways to show lines are parallel. You can show corresponding angles are congruent, show alternate interior angles are congruent, show alternate exterior angles are congruent, show same side angles are supplementary, show two lines are perpendicular to the same line, or show two lines are parallel to the same line. And that is a homework question. It's the last question. So again, those were the 6 ways to show that lines are parallel. And I did go ahead and write them out for you as well so that you can see the 6 ways. So again, show corresponding angles are congruent, show alternate interior angles are congruent, show alternate exterior angles are congruent, show same side angles are supplementary, show two lines are perpendicular to the same line, or show that two lines are parallel to the same line. So for these next several problems, what we're going to do is we're going to be looking at whether or not the lines are parallel based on the information that it's giving us. So if I look at example 1, it says which lines have to be parallel and why. So basically, there's no angles on line R, so I'm basically going to just get rid of R, and I'm going to concentrate on that other line. And I can see that this angle and this angle are marked. Those are alternate exterior angles. So since alternate exterior angles are congruent, that means that those lines are parallel. So for the homework, that's how you would write it. So Q is parallel to S because alternate exterior angles are congruent. So now we're going to look at example 2. So example 2 has two sets of angles going on there. So let's concentrate on AB. Let's concentrate on this line and this line first. And I can see based off of that these angles would be corresponding angles. So that means that since they are the same number, then AB and CD would have to be parallel because those corresponding angles are congruent. All right, but there's another angle there. So we're going to also look at this line and this line. And again, I see this angle marked and this angle marked. And those would also be corresponding angles. So we know that BC is going to be parallel to DE because of those corresponding angles as well. All right, that takes us to our last example. So when I'm looking at this, you've got three lines that could be parallel, but there's only two lines that actually have something written on them. So if I look at these two angles, again, we're looking at this angle and this angle, and those are both in the lower left-hand corner, so that's going to make those corresponding. So I know that line SX and line UV would be parallel because of corresponding angles are congruent. All right, for the next section, it's saying what value of X would make the lines parallel. So basically you have to figure out what kind of angles are you dealing with, and then are they supposed to be congruent or supplementary, and then solve it. So when I look at number 4, these two angles here that's got stuff written on them are going to be the same side angles. So same side are supplementary. All right, that means that when I add them together, I should get 180 degrees. So 65 plus X plus 72 has to equal 180 degrees. We're going to combine those like terms, so we get X plus 137 equals 180. Subtract 137 from both sides, and we get X equals 43. All right, looking at the next one, when I look at the two angles that have stuff written in those, this time those are alternate exterior angles, and alternate exterior angles are congruent. So congruent just means equal, so we're going to set them equal to each other. So 6x plus 17 has to equal 143. Subtract 17 from both sides, we get 6x equals 126. Divide by 6, and we get x equals 21. All right, looking at the next one, number 6. So I look at where the two angles are positioned. These are both in the lower right-hand corner. That makes those corresponding. And corresponding angles are congruent. Congruent means equal, so we're just going to set them equal to each other. So 8x minus 14 equals 7x plus 2. Subtract 7x from both sides, we get x minus 14 equals 2, and then add 14. So you get x equals 16 as your final answer. All right, one more of these. Now this one has a lot going on, but the first thing I'm going to do is I know that I'm supposed to be looking at this line and this line. Those are the ones that could be parallel. So I am going to get rid of this line right here. So we're just going to get rid of this line and make it go away here. All right, so now I can concentrate on the two lines that matter. So it's telling you that this angle right here is 3x. It's got an arrow pointing there. So we know that angle is 3x. And then since vertical angles are congruent, that means this angle is 12x. Well, these two angles are same side, and we know same side are supplementary. Okay, supplementary means they add up to 180. So 3x plus 12x equals 180 degrees. Add your like terms, you get 15x equals 180 degrees, and then divide by 15. So you end up with x equals 12. So like I said, that one was a little bit more complicated, but as you can see, we were still able to figure out how to set that one up. All right, that takes us down to one last section here. And this is the last section on the homework as well. So it says, use the given information to determine which lines, if any, are parallel and justify each conclusion with a theorem or postulate. So you're going to use one of those 6 methods. So number 9 says 8 is supplementary to 9. So I'm going to look over here. Here is 8 and here is 9. So those are on these lines here. So basically we're saying that x and y are parallel because, and if you look at where those angles are, those are same side, and they are supplementary, which is what they're supposed to be. So We know that x is parallel to y because same side angles are supplementary. Okay, so looking at number 10, it's saying 7 is congruent to 4. So again, those angles are on this line, and this line. And those are alternate exterior angles. So again, x is parallel to y because alternate exterior angles are congruent. All right, the next one says 9 is supplementary to 12. So we look at where 9 and 12 are. So that is using this line and these two lines. And those are same side and they are supplementary. So we know that those lines have to be parallel. All right, and the last one, 9 and 11. So here is 9 and here is 11. So again, we're looking at lines S, T, and then Y. And those are alternate interior. So we know that S is parallel to T because alternate interior angles are congruent. So this last section is probably the hardest section. And basically you need to look at what angles is it giving you? What lines do those touch? Are they giving you alternate interior, alternate exterior, corresponding, or same side? And then based on what kind of angles does that follow the theorem? Because everything should be congruent except for the same side angles and they should be supplementary. So overall, that's kind of what we're doing. You do have a worksheet that kind of goes along with the same thing. So if you watch the video, the homework should be pretty easy. If you have any questions, just reach out. All right.